words, Michael. I'd now like to introduce our regional editor, Paulius Kunstners, who will give a brief presentation on the findings of this year's report.
Thank you, Mr. Jeffries, for that kind introduction. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Selamat datang. I'm delighted to welcome you here today to formally launch the report Malaysia 2010. As Andrew said, my name is Paulius Kunstners. I am a regional editor for Asia at Oxford Business Group. I have also had the pleasure and honor to have been part of our Malaysia reports for nearly 5 years now. And as we celebrate our 5th anniversary and mark the pivotal launch of the 10th Malaysia Plan, I remain inspired by Malaysia's determination to reach the developed nation status by 2020. I believe that Malaysia's focus on long-term productivity and growth in a world that is suffering from short-termism, it sets it apart from a majority of countries. To be sure, there are a number of headwinds that lie ahead. Development of human resources and innovation have correctly been identified as the main drivers of future transformation. Nonetheless, I remain confident that Malaysia will continue to be one of the leading sources of growth in Asia. Today, if I may, I would like to offer you a brief summary of key themes that were addressed in our 330-page annual report. It's the biggest ever on record, I have to say. But before I do so, I would like to add my thanks to our research partners, especially the Economic Planning Unit, for their tireless support. I would also like to thank our guest of honor, Yang Amat Berhormat Dato Sri Mohammed Najib, the Prime Minister of Malaysia, for joining us here today on such a busy day. And now turning to the key findings. The main theme that has run through our reports for the last 5 years has been Malaysia's search of higher value added. Although the current financial crisis proved to be a temporary setback, we have witnessed a fundamental transformation from a commodity-based economy to a knowledge-driven one. In the last 5 years, to be sure, the private sector has been focused on growth opportunities in emerging regional markets such as Indonesia, India, and Vietnam. But now we are witnessing new emphasis on domestic market opportunities. The global credit crisis, we believe, served as a reminder to Malaysian business and leaders that they cannot rely exclusively on export market growth. Now, as far as key lessons from the global credit crisis, I think you will agree that Malaysia's resilience in the face of this crisis enhanced its investment profile by at least placing it in the high growth income bracket. The lesson that companies and policymakers can draw from this is that the balance sheet strength is essential in a synchronized cyclical downturn. Another important lesson that the financial crisis taught us is that liquidity should not be taken for granted. And it was one of the main assets that served Malaysia well throughout this crisis. Going forward, the sovereign debt issues in Europe clearly demonstrate the limits of fiscal expansion and government stimulus. As it happens, these themes have already been addressed in the 10th Malaysia Plan that was tabled at the Parliament 3 weeks ago, and as far as I know is being debated today. Dato Sri, I'm sure, will address some of the principal goals of the 10th Malaysia Plan in his speech. All that I would like to say at this stage is that based on conversations with you and the private sector, we are very encouraged. We believe that Malaysia can and should be able to achieve 6% annual growth if the private sector shifts into higher gear and there is a steady uptick in both domestic and foreign investment. The crucial point of capturing higher value added through innovation cannot be overemphasized. Productivity growth should not be viewed simply in terms of labor costs. The only way that developed nations can compete in the long run is through technological change. It is also vital, in our view, that this reorientation reaches small and medium-sized companies. Furthermore, to encourage risk-taking, it is essential to provide a decent social safety net to ensure that the most vulnerable groups in the society are not left behind. Now that the economic policy agenda has been set, the main question going forward is which industries will drive economic growth. Now, we observe that Malaysia continues to be blessed with natural resources. Some, like palm oil and hydrocarbons, agriculture, present further downstream expansion opportunities. The focus on alternative energy and biofuels, we believe, is likely to pay dividends in the years to come as the world gradually becomes greener and more environment conscious. Meanwhile, the natural beauty of its beaches and Borneo rainforest, combined with exhilarating retail experience here in Kuala Lumpur, acts as a major draw for international rivals, with Malaysia set to become one of the winners of growing tourism in Southeast Asia. One particular sector that we're going to be tracking closely is the financial sector. Malaysia's leadership in Islamic finance, such as sukuks, combined with progressive and accommodating central bank policies, makes finance one of the key drivers. Both conventional banks as well as their Islamic subsidiaries are likely to benefit from regional demand for Sharia instruments. These provide plenty of spin-off opportunities. For example, Malaysia is gradually establishing itself as one of the leading learning centers for Sharia scholars. Another sector that will underpin Malaysia's growth momentum is energy. Experience and know-how accumulated by leading energy companies such as Petronas puts them in a strong position to tap into new hydro, wind, and solar energy sources, which will diversify Malaysia's energy mix and provide extra growth in the future. Now, perhaps one of the most encouraging trends in the last 5 years that we have been observing is the growing importance of regional development corridors. East Coast Economic Region, Sarawak, Iskandar, Sabah, and Northern Corridor development have gained prominence in international investment circles. Oxford Business Group has been following closely the developments in these corridors with dedicated chapters to Iskandar, Malaysia, and ECER this year. In our view, by offering strong regulatory and fiscal incentives, the regional development corridors will play a key role in attracting foreign investment. However, with all that said, the main catalyst for growth and accelerator in the next 5 years, we believe, will be research and innovation. Malaysian policymakers have already recognized this. Institutional players such as Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation, Malaysian Technology Development Corporation, together with local universities, we know are working very hard on bringing research ideas to the market. The task ahead will be to encourage the private sector